Okay, hello everyone. This is a video about accents, specifically my accent in English, German, and Mandarin. If you don't know who Erik Singer is, he is a dialect coach and he's appeared in a bunch of YouTube videos where he, talks about language and dialects and about the accents that actors put on for movies and stuff, and it's really interesting. Give it a watch. Anyway, he also has a website where you can quote-unquote donate your accent, which means that you send in a recording of your speech and that will be used as educational material, I guess, for dialect coaching. Yeah, I don't know, I just thought it would be a fun thing to do and I haven't seen anything like it, so yes. So on the website it says, donate your accent. If you'd like to donate your accent to my research and teaching library, here are 2 sample passages to record yourself reading and some suggested questions to answer for a sample of extemporaneous speech. I think that's how you say it. Please record both the passages and some extemporaneous speech. They say they're unable to offer any individual feedback or analysis. The idea behind the sample collection is to improve accent work in television and film, as well as potentially to increase overall understanding of and appreciation for the richness and diversity of accent variation. And that's so sweet. I like that. Yeah, so I'm trying not to focus on my accent because then I'll change how I speak, but yeah, that's just okay. Reading passages. So there's 3 parts to this. You have some short sentences, then there is a poem, and then you're supposed to speak about, anything you want to speak about, and it's just supposed to sound natural. And I'm going to do that last part in English as well as German, which is my native language, and Chinese or Mandarin, which is technically also my native language. I guess I'm a heritage speaker in that my mom is a native speaker and I'm just I was stupid and did not learn when I was little. Without further ado, let's get into the reading passages. The quick brown fox took 4 small sips of strong coffee. Oh boy, Kathy, father is mad as hell. Why did you lie? You're not even sorry. Carry these cheeses to the train before it's too late. That fluffy little kitten slashed the cotton sofa apart. Now her poor paw is hurt. Dear me. Do you fear death, fair one? Cut the flow, now. The bathroom is underwater. Get the bags. Where would you go, do you think, if the earth turns cold? Will you walk north? Hurry it up. Does anybody take pride in their work anymore? People are sheep. 2 students planted big fir trees all around the zoo. Where's the tailor? Did he hem the orange pants? Oh, that sounded really British for some reason. Did he hem the orange pants? Okay. Where's the tailor? Did he hem the orange pants? I've discovered the perfect poison. It attacks the organs. It sure is nice to fish, because it makes me feel calm, Just look at those trout. Spread the news, we're planning a party. The jury is not going to follow the rule. Do you think 10 o'clock is early for lunch? That was all the reading passages, and now I'm going to read to you a poem called Dali's Last Hurrah. Not sure who wrote this poem, but we shall read it to analyze my accent. So, what frosty land is this? How was its fate decided? Coal-black mountains loom, glassy pools reflect their huge queer forms. A bird-like woman searches slowly through the trees. Flocks of trembling sparrows cluster about blood-red barns. I feel the flashing claws of chalk-white hair rip at my breath. My courage fails. A furious, hoarse voice whispers from the inky shadows. He knew his duty. We cannot be afraid. Fighting a fog of sudden nightmare visions, savage lambs, fork-tongued horses, sleek otters, subtle as jazz. I struggle to recall the verse drama of old. My heart turns to ice. That was the poem, yeah. And now I'm just gonna talk a bit about my accent and the languages I learned. So we'll start with English. I first started learning English when I went to preschool. I went to preschool in Hong Kong, and at that point, I only knew German and English, and in Hong Kong, pretty much all of my classmates were speaking English, and I was left out, so I had to learn. And I remember I took a class that was called Extra English, and it was with this lovely woman. I think she was British, so maybe I had a British accent at some point, probably not. But yeah, she was my first English teacher, and she would read a story, like, what's it called? Storybooks for children to us. Like, that's not how you say it. Bilderbücher, what's the word? Oh my god. Anyway, right, like the Gruffalo, for example, she would read these books to us, and I'd just listen and understand maybe a little bit of what she's saying. I don't know how I didn't get bored, because at the beginning I couldn't understand anything. But yeah, she would read these stories to us, and then we would dress up in costumes and basically have a little play, which meant that we could repeat the story we just heard and dress up as the characters, and it was really sweet. I loved that teacher, and I loved that class. And later I had English teachers from all over. I had some from Singapore, from the US, from Germany. I went to like a German school, if that makes this easier to understand. And yeah, so, and then later on, I didn't learn most of my English from teachers. I learned it from movies and TV shows, and that was mostly American Hollywood movies and media. And then even later than that, I started watching a lot of YouTube, and so on YouTube there was like a bigger variety of accents than in Hollywood, so I watched British YouTubers, Irish YouTubers, Australian YouTubers, like people from all over the world, and everything has influenced the way I speak. I think I thought that I spoke in a very Americanized way because of the movies I watched when I was younger, but apparently that is not the case, and people have told me that I speak, I don't know, in a very particular way. One more thing, I find that my accent changes depending on the people I surround myself with. For example, I have two friends who speak in an English accent, and I find that when I'm talking to them, my my accent will kind of morph a little bit into the way they're speaking, which is strange, because I can't do accents, and I'm kind of embarrassed. I feel like I'm doing a bad imitation, but I'm not even doing it consciously. But yeah. Dann jetzt auf Deutsch. Moin zusammen, ich heiße Mona, und Deutsch ist Meine Muttersprache spreche ich seit ich klein bin. Ich bin auf Deutsch zur Schule gegangen und das ist meine fließendste Sprache. Und ja, ich glaube, mein Akzent ist ziemlich Standard. Ich spreche nicht wirklich mit einem regionalen Akzent, obwohl einmal hatte ich das, dass ich mit einem Mädchen mich unterhalten habe und sie meinte dann direkt so, warte mal, kommt dein Vater aus so und so? Und ich war so, ja, tatsächlich, okay. Kommt dein Vater aus NRW? Und ich war so, ja, tut er. Und aus irgendeinem Grund hat sie das rausgehört, auch wenn ich finde nicht, dass ich einen regionalen Akzent habe auf Deutsch. Ja, einmal wurde mir sogar gesagt, dass mein Akzent auf Deutsch, dass ich einen chinesischen Akzent habe, wo ich mir nur so dachte, so, das ist so ein Bullshit. Ich habe nicht mal einen chinesischen Akzent, wenn ich Chinesisch spreche. Also einfach, was? Aber ja, über mein Deutsch gibt es ansonsten nicht super viel zu sagen. Genau, mein Vater kommt aus NRW, aber ich bin in China aufgewachsen, bin dann zu einer deutschen Schule gegangen, auf eine deutsche Schule gegangen, wo es halt Leute aus ganz Deutschland gibt. Weswegen ich nicht so eine Sache spezifisch picked up habe. Oh mein Gott, meine Sprache ist furchtbar. Sage ich direkt, nachdem ich sage, dass Deutsch meine fließendste Sprache ist. Aber ja, so ist das.那现在我们说中文吧，我的中文真的不好。我先做一个小的自我介绍。大家好 ，Hello， 我叫 Mona， 我今年19岁，我是在中国大陆在上海长大的，然后我妈妈是台湾人，但是我中文不是特别好，因为我上了德国学校嘛，所以我上学大概1-2堂课是中文课，然后其他的全部都是德文和英文，而且我小时候也从来也不会看中文的电视啊，或者看书啊还是什么，所以我的认字的怎么说，我认字认得很烂，而且写汉字真的不好，然后听还有说是比较简单的是没问题，可是如果要比较复杂的就不行了。我觉得我的中文水平大概是一个小孩子的样子，因为那时候我就开始上德国学校，我就一直留在那个小孩的水平上面。那我的口音呢？有些人说我是听得出来我妈妈是台湾人，但是我妈妈自己其实口音不是很像台湾人。然后当然很多人也跟我说就是一个外国人的口音。所以不知道，我现在正在学中文，学中文，希望我会进步一点。Oh, okay, this is fun. They have some extra questions for someone whose native language is not English. One question is, if you have a favorite poem or passage from literature in your native language, would you please record yourself speaking it? Song lyrics are fine too. There's no need to provide a translation, but please tell me the author and the name of the work. I'll recite the only poem that I know how to recite in German, then I'll recite the only poem that I know to recite in Chinese. Okay. So the German poem, I think it does not have a title. I think the title is just the first line of the poem, and there's not really an author that's definitely known. So, it's called Dunkel war's, der Mond schien helle. Dunkel war's, der Mond schien helle, schneebedeckt die grüne Flur, als ein Auto blitzeschnelle langsam um die Ecke fuhr. Drinnen saßen stehend Leute, schweigend ins Gespräch vertieft, als ein totgeschossener Hase auf der Sandbank Schlittschuh lief. That's like the first part. And then in Chinese, this is just the one poem I had to learn for school, so. And it's one of the most famous. It's called, does it have a name? It's called Quiet Night Thought by Li Bai. Okay, so. 床前明月光，疑是地上霜。举头望明月，低头思故乡。And this question I also like. Would you share some slang in your native language or dialect with me? One German insult that I really like, and I never use it, but I just like the sound of it, is Kackbratze. Just because it has all these harsh sounds and it sounds so much like an insult. Kackbratze. Like Kbratze. And so kack means shit or poop or whatever. Then bratze, I actually had to look this up because it's not really used outside of the context of this word, and it means an ugly person. But I don't use kackbratze to just mean someone is physically ugly. It's just an unpleasant person. It's like so eine Kackbratze. Yeah. And I think that concludes this video. Thank you for watching. This was really fun to record, and I'm going to take the audio from this video and donate it. And yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.